Welcome along, fellow Beetle people. This time around, we're going to check out more rare photos of Tittenhurst Park that you likely have never seen before. Now, there's really no theme to any of these videos outside of the fact that they are very rare photos from my personal collection. I just think it's more interesting if I share a wide assortment of images that bounce around to different times, so you never know what photo's coming up next. Before I begin, please like and share the show and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Now let's begin our journey. This image shows an aerial view of Tittenhurst Park in the 1990s. Sheikh, yes, I did say that correctly, it's not Sheikh, it's actually pronounced Sheikh, Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. Try saying that 10 times. Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, who was a very smart and intelligent man, by the way. Well, I'll speak about more in the future. In either event, in 1989, he did purchase Tittenhurst Park. He was then the president of the UAE and the ruler of Abu Dhabi, and he expanded and modernized the house and the gardens. And so in this image, you could see the highly structured gardens, particularly the circular and symmetrical layouts at the bottom center, which are characteristic of formal landscaping often associated with Middle Eastern or European influences. In John Lennon's era, the gardens were more naturalistic and less manicured. The large lake in the upper right of the image appears more defined and expanded compared to how it was in John Lennon's time. The addition of small islands and pathways around the water suggests enhancements for aesthetic and recreational purposes, aligning with the Sheikh's vision for a grand estate. There are more buildings visible in this contemporary photo than would have existed during John Lennon's residency. The Sheikh likely expanded them and added them for staff, guests, and estate management, as the property was transformed into a more functional and luxurious retreat. Overall, Tittenhurst Park has evolved from a relatively modest, which sounds weird to say, believe me, artistically inclined retreat during John Lennon's ownership into a more opulent and formally landscaped estate under the Sheikh's ownership. The garden's expansion, with their geometric precision and additional features, reflects a significant shift in the estate's character, aligning with the Sheikh's taste and resources. This photo shows the house covered in scaffolding netting, with orange signs indicating construction work, likely for safety and to shield the site from view. I actually have a lot of photos like this. As you may know, Ringo Starr owned the estate from 1973 to 1988 after purchasing it from John Lennon, who lived there from mid-1969 to mid-1971. During Ringo's ownership, the property retained much of its original Georgian character, though he made minor updates and used it as a recording space. And in future videos, I'm going to show you some of the really great photos I have of the inside and outside of the house when Ringo and his family lived there. Beginning in 1989, after the Sheikh purchased it, he initiated a major rebuild to modernize the property, including updates to electricity, plumbing, and security systems to align with contemporary standards. Remember, this was a really old house. The extensive scaffolding suggests a major overhaul of the mansion, possibly involving structural modifications to the original Georgian mansion. The Sheikh's goal was to transform the estate into a more secure and modern residence. However, this rebuild stirred some controversy. You see, Tittenhurst Park is a Grade 2 listed building, meaning it's protected due to its historical and architectural significance. The extensive modifications, which altered the original structure, violated heritage preservation laws in the UK. And so as a result, the Sheikh faced legal consequences and was fined heavily for failing to adhere to regulations that required preserving the building's historical features. This photo captures a moment at Tittenhurst Park after John Lennon moved to New York, but he still owned the estate. The child in the foreground is standing in front of the Cape Dutch-style cottage on the estate, which was later used by the Krishna devotees as their temple. As you can see, she was wearing a bright red coat and yellow pants, typical of the vibrant fashion of the late 1960s and early 1970s. It's possible those clothes came from the Apple boutique, since when they were getting ready to close it down, John and Yoko went over there and took a whole bunch of stuff off the racks. As you can see, the cottage features the distinctive gable facade of Cape Dutch architecture, characterized by its curved, ornate gable, which was a style originating from the Dutch settlers in South Africa and occasionally replicated in English estates for its aesthetic appeal. And this image shows the Georgian mansion. A notable detail is the boarded up window on the second floor, which is where John and Yoko's bed was. So clearly there was some kind of damage or maybe some maintenance being done. And you can see there's a dovecote, which is a small structure for housing doves, on the roof of the veranda, adding a quaint traditional element to the estate. Now check this out. A significant piece of history tied to Tittenhurst Park during this period involves a car crash that affected John Lennon, Yoko Ono, and Julian Lennon and Kyoko Cox. You see, in July of 1969, while on a family trip in Scotland, John, who was not the best driver the world has ever known, crashed the car that he was driving, an Austin Maxi, into a ditch. The accident occurred when John swerved to avoid an oncoming vehicle on a narrow road. John, Yoko, and the children sustained injuries. In fact, John and Yoko required stitches for facial cuts. Julian had minor injuries, and Kyoko was shaken but unharmed. They were treated at a local hospital and later returned to Tittenhurst Park to recover. Anyway, following the crash, John had the wrecked car transported back to Tittenhurst Park, where it was displayed on the grounds as a sort of memento or artistic statement. The car, crumbled and damaged, was placed near the main house, visible to visitors and symbolizing both the fragility of life and John and Yoko's penchant for turning personal experiences into art. This is a sad photo because it shows a significant moment at Tittenhurst Park when the Sheikh had the recording studio demolished. As you can see, the mansion is surrounded by scaffolding with large sections of the walls and roof already torn down, exposing the interior. Piles of rubble and sand and construction materials are scattered around, indicating active demolition work. For those that don't know, John Lennon had installed a recording studio at Tittenhurst Park known as Ascot Sound Studios because John thought it would be funny if it had the initials ASS. It was a state-of-the-art facility for its time where he recorded the Imagine album, including the title track. When the Sheikh bought Tittenhurst Park, he embarked on a major renovation to modernize the estate, which included demolishing several structures, including the recording studio. This demolition, however, was controversial. You see, the studio held immense cultural and historical value due to its association with John Lennon and the Imagine album, and its destruction was seen by many as a loss of musical heritage. The photo reflects the extent of the changes the Sheikh made, erasing a key piece of the estate's history tied to John Lennon and Ringo Starr. The demolition marked a shift from the Bohemian, creative era of the property to a more opulent, modernized estate. And this aerial photo shows Tittenhurst Park when it was owned by the Sheikh. And as you can tell, the image captures the estate after significant transformations. For example, the main Georgian mansion, originally built in the 18th century, is visible with its white facade and expanded structure. Surrounding it are several additional buildings, manicured lawns, and a notable glass-enclosed pool structure in the gardens. The grounds are more structured compared to earlier photos from John Lennon's time, with clear pathways and a mix of deciduous trees. The main mansion, which John and Ringo used as their primary residence, was significantly enlarged by the Sheikh. The photo shows additional wings and extensions, increasing the building's footprint. And of course, the standout feature in the photo is the glass-enclosed pool structure near the main house. During John Lennon's era, the estate had open grounds without such a feature. The Sheikh had the pool rebuilt and enclosed in a glass dome, likely to allow year-round use and to add a luxurious, modern element to the property. The grounds, which were more naturalistic during Lennon's ownership, have been transformed into a more formal layout. The aerial view shows manicured lawns, defined pathways, and new gardens consistent with the Sheikh's later expansions. This photo reveals the interior of the Keeper's Lodge, a 17th century Tudor-style building predating the estate's 18th century Georgian mansion. As you can see, the room showcases classic Tudor elements: large, diamond-patterned, leaded windows admitting soft light, intricately carved dark wood paneling, and exposed beams, evoking the period's charm. The floor, worn and marked with dirt, suggests disrepair or ongoing renovation, creating a dim, neglected atmosphere that underscores the structure's historical character. In the 1970s, the Keeper's Lodge briefly became home to Ringo Starr's son, Zach Starkey, his first wife, and their child during Starr's ownership. The Keeper's Lodge, with its half-timbered Tudor design, stands a testament to Tittenhurst's layered history, contrasting the grandeur of the main mansion while preserving its 17th century English heritage. This is a still from the 1971 film Imagine. Silhouetted against the Georgian facade's white exterior, tall columns, and veranda, the couple exudes unity. John in his wide-brimmed hat and coat, and Yoko beside him with her arm wrapped around his. The foggy day lends a dreamy, ethereal quality, mirroring the film's artistic tone. Their dark silhouettes contrast the mansion's pale backdrop, highlighting their partnership in music and activism during the late 1960s and into the 1970s. This iconic image immortalizes Tittenhurst Park as a creative hub. The scene encapsulates the couple's personal and artistic intimacy, with the mansion as a grand stage for Imagine, one of music history's most enduring songs, forever linking the estate to John Lennon's legacy. This photo depicts Tittenhurst Park during Ringo Starr's ownership from 1973 to 1988. The veranda, supported by tall columns, now has a railing around its roof, a modification made towards the end of John Lennon's tenure. This fencing served as a safety feature to create a usable rooftop space. In the foreground, there's a large decorative urn and two stone lions that are positioned on the lawn, partially obscured by the hedge. They were brought to the estate by Ringo Starr, reflecting his personal taste and desire to enhance the property's grandeur. The lions add a regal touch to the grounds, while the urn serves as a classical garden ornament, complementing the Georgian architecture of the mansion. This photo captures the gardens during the late 1980s or early 1990s. The image shows a well-maintained landscape with expansive lawns, large evergreen trees, and manicured shrubs, reflecting the Sheikh's efforts to enhance the estate's grounds. Tall evergreen trees, including cedars, dominate the scene, providing a sense of grandeur and privacy. These trees were part of the estate since at least the mid-1800s. And as you can see, a winding pathway curves to the gardens, leading deeper into the property. This image focuses on the striking and famous weeping Atlas cedar, a distinctive tree characterized by its drooping branches that cascade to the ground, creating a conical, almost tent-like shape. And I already showed you photos of the beetles standing next to and under this tree. This is an amazing botanical wonder. The tree's long, needle-like leaves hang densely, giving it a lush, draped appearance, and its prominence in the photo highlights its role as a focal point in the garden. And if you look to the right, you can see the mansion in the distance. At the time, and still today, Tittenhurst Park had the largest and second largest weeping blue Atlas cedar in the entire UK. That's pretty cool, right? This photo, taken in the 1990s, captures the northwest corner of Tittenhurst Park's main mansion under the Sheikh's ownership. The Georgian facade with its pale exterior, tall windows, and classical entrance featuring a pediment and columns reflects the 18th century architectural elegance. The curving entry driveway, well maintained and defined, leads to the grand entrance, famously seen in the 1971 Imagine film with John and Yoko approaching it. And as you can see, a vibrant flower garden with white narcissus and yellow daffodils brightens the foreground. The mansion appears to be freshly painted, contrasting its slightly worn look during John and Ringo's tenures. Lush grounds framed by large trees, including a prominent evergreen, maintain continuity with earlier eras, showcasing the estate's enduring charm and the Sheikh's efforts to formalize its grounds. This photo showcases the iconic White Room at Tittenhurst Park, immortalized by John and Yoko when they lived there. Defined by its minimalistic aesthetic, the room features stark white walls, white flooring, which I believe was a custom-made plush white rug that Dan Richter found for them, and sparse furnishings, creating a serene, airy ambiance. At its heart stands a white grand piano, the centerpiece of the 1971 Imagine music video. Large windows line the wall, flooding the space with natural light and offering views of the estate's lush grounds. Featured in the Imagine film tied to John Lennon's album, the room gained global fame. In the video, John plays the white piano while Yoko opens the shutters, letting light pour in, a symbolic act echoing the song's themes of peace, hope, and simplicity. The all-white design, a deliberate choice by John and Yoko, underscores the room's tranquil, visionary atmosphere. Alright, it's time to start showing you some photos of John and Yoko, which I know many of you have been waiting for. This photo captures John and Yoko standing on the steps leading down to the gardens. John is wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a long coat, while Yoko appears to be dressed in a long black cloak. And if that is a cloak, you gotta admit that's a pretty cool cloak. I wonder if she still has it. Hey Yoko, if you're listening and you don't need that cloak anymore, any chance I could get it? I would love to have that cloak. That's a really cool cloak. Moving on, this photo captures a more candid moment showing the couple in the grounds taken by their trusted friend, Dan Richter, who wrote a really great book called The Dream Is Over. By the way, you should go on Amazon and buy it. The grounds in the photo reflect the estate's appearance during John's time, a mix of open lawns, large trees, and a slightly wild bohemian vibe. This photo captures John Lennon during the recording of the Imagine film in 1971, seated at a white grand piano in the White Room of the estate. Yoko was seen sitting on the floor nearby. It's not so easy to see, but the room features Perspex plastic stands, which were once used to display Yoko's conceptual art pieces, giving the space the appearance of an art gallery. These transparent stands held various objects aligning with Yoko's avant-garde approach to art, and added to the room's surreal, almost otherworldly aesthetic, complementing the themes of the Imagine album and the film. This photo captures John and Yoko sitting at their custom-made round bathtub in their bathroom next to their bedroom. The bathroom itself has a minimalist aesthetic, with white walls and large windows that let in natural light, consistent with the bright, airy feel of other rooms in the house. Now look, there are stories about the couple's relationship during this period that often highlight their desire for constant togetherness, even in private moments. Now if you're eating right now, take a break for a second because I don't want you to vomit, but it's been said that John and Yoko during this time were so inseparable that they would often bathe together in that bathtub, and they would even use the toilet in front of each other, reflecting their commitment to being together at all times. If you go to the toilet in front of your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, please let me know in the comments below. Actually, don't let me know. Either way, this level of intimacy was part of their broader philosophy of unity and transparency. While these stories are often sensationalized, they do underscore the couple's unconventional approach to their relationship, which they openly shared, for some reason, with the public through their work, public appearances, and interviews. This photo captures John and Yoko in the billiard room. As you can see, John is leaning over the billiard table, focusing on a shot, while Yoko perches along the table's edge, watching him. The room is lined with tall bookshelves filled with books, reflecting the couple's intellectual and creative environment. On the wall, there's an original antique poster that inspired the Beatles song being For the Benefit of Mr. Kite, from the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. The poster, which John acquired, advertised a 19th century circus performance, which included phrases that directly influenced the song's lyrics. Now check this out. Behind the bookshelf, there was a hidden door that led to a secret corridor, well, not too secret, that provided a discreet route to the kitchen without needing to traverse the entire mansion. This architectural feature was typical of large estates like Tittenhurst Park, designed for convenience and privacy for the staff and residents. The billiard room, with its blend of leisure and personal touches, reflect the couple's life at Tittenhurst during a creatively significant period, including the recording of the Imagine album. This photo captures John and Yoko in the White Room at Tittenhurst Park doing a photo shoot in 1971. As you can see, John is seated at the white grand piano, playing or posing while Yoko stands nearby, leaning slightly against the piano. John is dressed in a patterned sweater vest over a long-sleeve shirt, paired with flared jeans, embodying the casual early 1970s Bohemian style. And Yoko is wearing a dark patterned top and dark pants, with her hair tied back aligning with her artistic and understated aesthetic. This photo captures John and Yoko shortly after moving into Tittenhurst Park in 1969. The couple is seated in the dining room, which was also seen in the Beatles' last official photo shoot. John is sitting on a wooden chair, dressed in a dark long-sleeve shirt and pants, while Yoko is seated in a cushioned chair, wearing a dark top and pants, her long hair hanging loose. The room has a mix of eclectic decor with a large window letting in natural light, a patterned rug on the floor, and various furnishings, including a wooden cabinet and a chair in the background. Now, one striking piece in the room is the chair near Yoko, which appears to be made with what looks like rhino horns. A controversial and likely decorative choice reflecting the era's eclectic and sometimes ethically questionable design trends. I mean, think how many rhinos had to be murdered to make that chair. Either way, the photo captures a moment of intimacy and adjustments as John and Yoko settled into their new home, a place that would become central to their creative lives, including the recording of Imagine in 1971. Now, prepare yourself for some photos that you probably did not expect to see. This photo shows two musicians from the band Whitesnake playing guitar and piano in the mansion at Tittenhurst Park. Now, how in the world did this photo happen? Well, during Ringo's ownership, Tittenhurst Park continued to be a hub for musical creativity. Starr maintained the Ascot Sound Studios. In fact, he renamed it, and he let bands like Whitesnake live in the house while using the recording studio. And I've talked about that plenty of times before. You've got Whitesnake and Def Leppard and Judas Priest and so many others. And it must have been awesome for them to be able to sleep in the bedrooms upstairs and to go downstairs anytime they wanted to either record or to rehearse. In fact, the group Zayed stayed there not to record an album, but to just hang out and come up with ideas for songs, which must have been really exciting for all of the bands who stayed there. And so this image ties into the broader history of Tittenhurst Park as a musical landmark. You see, it captures a moment in the estate's musical history, showcasing how Ringo's ownership kept the property a vibrant space for rock music before its later transformations. And this photo captures members of the rock band Whitesnake in the control room of the recording studio at Tittenhurst Park in the late 1970s. Whitesnake sessions at Tittenhurst Park were crucial for establishing their early sound, blending blues and rock and hints of the harder edge that would define their 1980s success. The control room in the photo would have been where the band and their producer mixed and reviewed tracks for their albums. And if you're a fan of Whitesnake, and isn't everybody, feel free to tell me who you recognize in this photo. And finishing off, we've got this fantastic photo, which was actually shared with me by one of the guys in Whitesnake when I interviewed them for my book about Tittenhurst Park. You see, to imprint his personality on the property, Ringo added a life-size T-Rex statue, likely crafted from durable fiberglass or resin, a material typical for large garden sculptures in the 1970s. This whimsical T-Rex, prominently placed on the lawn or near the mansion, became an eye-catching feature, embodying Ringo's playful spirit and the era's trend of rock stars adorning their English estates with eccentric decor. The statue enhanced the estate's bohemian creative atmosphere, delighting visitors. During this period, Ringo and Elton John were close friends, who frequently mingled in their own elite circles. And so, when Ringo sold Tittenhurst Park, he gifted that T-Rex to Elton John. Known for his flamboyant style, Elton John placed the statue in the garden of his Woodside estate in Old Windsor, near Tittenhurst, where it complemented his love for extravagant decor. And I have plenty more photos of that T-Rex that I will share in other videos. So, what do you think of these assorted, rare photos taken at Tittenhurst Park? Kind of amazing, right? Which were your favorites? Did you know about Whitesnake living and recording there for a brief period of time? Did you know about the T-Rex? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any rare photos of Tittenhurst Park or any other places associated with the Beatles, please let me know. Perhaps I'll feature them in a future video. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please check out the links below to learn how to support my research and productions. Kindly be kind to all of our fellow Earthlings and please do not harm them, and don't eat them. And do yourself a favor and go to a local shelter and adopt a cat or a dog or both. You and they will be very glad that you did. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.